Hello! Welcome to the last video for our Oakwald series. Today we are going to be touring the island and I cannot wait to show you the finished result. First off, here is the map of our island, and our residents are June, Azalea, Norma, Annabelle, Blair, Diana, Flurry, Deidre, Tia, and of course, Fang. For those of you who have been following along with this series, you may be wondering why I'm already doing the tour of Oakwald. I am so sad to share that over 10 hours of content was somehow corrupted. I have switched computers, and I think somehow during that switch the videos just didn't quite make the move. But I am very grateful that the video of the tour made it because I did not write down the dream address. The good news, it was mainly villager hunting, adding a bunch of flowers, and time skipping to try to have certain villagers get the little thought bubble. I think that there may have only been one tiny build that I did not have recorded, and it was the little apiary over by the spa, which we will see later. Starting off the tour, we have our little farmer's market. I just really loved the idea of this being one of the first things that you see when you get off the plane. Plus, the idea of people visiting the island just to come to the farmer's market makes me really happy. Next, we have our little outdoor cafe, and I just love the way that it extends over to the other side of the river where there's lots of seating, and I could just see myself sitting here and having a wonderful time. Now we have our first villager neighborhood. I mentioned this in the last video, but Fang has truly become one of my absolute favorite villagers. He is certainly one that I think whenever I get around to doing a forever island, I want to make sure that he's on it. I did decorate each of the villagers' yards, but there really wasn't much of a coherent theme. I also mentioned this in a previous video, but the only villager who I had a really clear idea of what I wanted to do with their yard was Deidre. The inside of her house is so gorgeous and cozy and autumnal, so I wanted to have that continue to the outside of her house. As for the beaches, I also didn't do too many decorations here. There is the area that has like the little ice cream, and also the beach at the back of the island has some moons and star fragments and stuff, but other than that, I kept the beaches plain. Next, we have our little secret date spot area, as well as the forested area on the way to the Able Sisters. And I have to say, I just love the way that this feels like a setting straight from a book. I think that it is so beautiful and moody and cozy, but also like you don't know what's going to pop out from behind the trees, and I think that it would be a lot of fun to do an entire island that kind of has this similar woodsy, cozy vibe. Next, we have the little path towards our museum. I really enjoyed adding all of the ruins and the historical items to this area. There is a little path to the secret beach if you go through the arch, but I didn't end up decorating anything back there. It was more just for convenience than anything. We next have our little bakery area that is dedicated to all things bread, as well as our orchard, and then we have our campsite. I also have the lovely little spa area tucked way back here. Again, I was not originally planning on having this as a build on the island. I had just placed a bunch of things down trying to get to a 3-star island. I decided that when it came time to decorate the area in front of my house, that I wanted to put as many of my personal favorite things as possible. So we have our little area with a fireplace and the free little library, because there's truly nothing better than getting cozy on a couch in front of a fire with a lovely book. I also really love picnics, and when my husband and I lived in Paris, we had a specific bench on the Seine that overlooked Notre Dame that we would have a picnic at multiple times a week. So this was a little bit of an homage to our time living in Paris. And lastly, I love to garden. I wish I could say that I had a garden that looked like this, but I do not. My backyard is way too small for that. Moving back towards the museum and Able Sisters, we have the area in front of Nook's Cranny. And I'm not gonna lie, I really feel like this was the build that kind of saved the island. I had just gotten to a 3-star island. I started terraforming for the first time, and I was working on the area next to resident services, and it was going so bad. Like, so bad. And I was just so frustrated with it and couldn't figure out why it wasn't turning out the way that I wanted it to. And I think I was just almost had this thought in the back of my mind, like, why in the world would I upload this to the internet for people to see how big of a failure this is? And just felt like I had really weird imposter syndrome. And so I was like, you know what? I'm gonna stop doing this build. I'm gonna try something new. I have a general idea that I want to do for like the little shopping district. And then this just kind of came together. And I just kind of had this realization of it's just for fun. It literally doesn't matter. So we're just gonna pour one out for this little area and for the way that it completely saved this entire island. I also decided to add a little flower field that winds along the side of the river. I love the feeling of it being like wildflowers and random and not orderly at all. We have resident services and our second little villager neighborhood. I love the idea of Diana and Norma being best friends and keeping tabs on everyone who enters the island. I feel like Norma would have binoculars in her house and would be looking at every single seaplane that lands and keeping tabs on it all. I also fully relate to Norma's emergency on needing to purchase a new book, so we're just going to fast forward through this real quick. And now back to the tour. And now we have our Oakwald library. I truly think that it's going to be a massive test of strength to not have a library on every single island that I design. I would give anything to have a library that looks like this in my house. It's also super convenient that you can go through the back of the library and it connects you to the northern part of the island. Moving on, we have our last villager neighborhood as well as our little lighthouse peninsula build. And this is the only build that I think we didn't have a recording of, and it is our little apiary. I had tried to put one together, but really was not happy with the result at all. But then I did find some inspiration on Pinterest, and I'm absolutely kicking myself because I didn't save the picture and who the original creator was. But if I find it, I will absolutely list it in the description down below, or I will at least have some that are very, very similar to what I ended up doing because I certainly want to give credit to the original creator. And now the time that we have all been waiting for, the gyroid room. I did kind of decorate different rooms in the house, but it was pretty sparse. So this is the only room that I'm going to share. Who knew that I would become such a fan of these little guys during this playthrough? I didn't use any of them for the island builds, but that is something that I absolutely need to do on a future island. I very nearly filled all 4 walls, and while the sound might be used to torture secrets out of people, I honestly still kind of love it. And that is it for our Oakwald Island series. If you would like to come visit this island, I will have the dream address here and listed in the description box down below. And I am so excited because the next Animal Crossing series that I'm going to do is inspired by one of my favorite book series, Throne of Glass. So definitely subscribe to the channel if you are interested in following along on that journey. But I hope you have a fantastic day, and I will see you next time.